it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So I just wanted to give you a quick update, and it really is a quick update. Not lots of information, but Patrick Stephenson, the alleged killer of Samantha Murphy, just to give you a little reminder of what happened. Round about this time last year, I think it was February the 4th, Samantha Murphy went out for a jog, didn't she, in Ballarat in Australia, and never came home. And shortly after that, Patrick Stephenson, a young man who I think was only 22 at the time, since then he's had a birthday, he's now 23, he was arrested. Now, of course, this is what he looked like when he was younger. It doesn't look anything like that now. You can see from the thumbnail, which actually, if I upload the thumbnail, you will see that he's changed beyond recognition, to be honest. He's now a lot stockier than that. He's got one of those big sort of beards. Let's have a look. And this is not a photo. No one's allowed to take a photo of him now, though I have got a photo of him. But I'm not allowed to show it. So this is how he is now. Time is running out. That's the what I put in the thumbnail. I do feel that although this justice feels like it's a long time in coming, and goodness knows how it feels for Samantha's family, because Samantha is married, she's got 2 young children. And also the other horrible thing is, as if it's not bad enough just knowing that your mum's been murdered, nobody knows where her remains are. Her remains have not been found. He's not cooperating with the police. So unfortunately, Samantha still has not been brought home to her family, aside from everything else. So Patrick has pled guilty, and he's chosen this, well, it's supposed to be a fast track. God knows what the slow track is, because it seems to be taking forever. He's chosen fast track. He's also, I think, going to have just a judge, no jury. And that will be a ploy. I mean, at the end of the day, I know it's the defence team's job, but you know what will happen is it'll be every trick in the book to help this man get off with what he's been accused of. Now, if he's innocent, he should get off with it. But, you know, the police apparently, they say, but of course they're tight-lipped, but it did come up in court before that there's an unprecedented amount of CCTV evidence, etc. Well, we'll see. So the court date has now been set. And I just want to give you a little update. I mean, and it really is the smallest of updates, because now it's gone to the Supreme Court, and it's, you know, the journalists are not allowed to report on what comes what comes up. So it's all very secretive, hush hush. But last night, or as far as Spain's concerned, it was last night. But in Australia, it would have been the morning. He appeared in front of the Supreme Court, or certainly his lawyers were there, debating some points. And that's what I'm going to tell you about. Just say hello. Oh, seems to be a few of you here this early in the morning, but you're probably all in Australia. Hi, Sheep Farmer. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Mello. Gosh, you're up early, Mello. Yeah, I've seen that, Sheep Farmer. It's a load of rubbish. It's a load of rubbish, that. It's a load of rubbish. Hi, Musical. And, I think that person has been banned from that Facebook page. What, just not everything you see on Facebook is true, unfortunately. Sorry, did I say he pled guilty? I meant to say he pled not guilty. Yeah, he pled not guilty. No, he hasn't pled guilty. He pled guilty to the other offences, didn't he, of being drunk, when he crashed into the tree on his motorbike. Oh, it's 7 p.m. in Australia. So, yeah, I don't want anyone to take any notice of silly things that have been said on the Facebook pages, because those people have been banned off. There's somebody stirring things up. and saying, going on anonymous and saying all sorts of things. So there is no evidence for that. So I don't speculate about those things on my channel. We'll see what happens when it comes to court. At the moment, gosh, it's so frustrating. As I say, I don't know how it must be for Mick and the family. So frustrating for us as we've followed this case from day one. So anyway, the man accused of murdering Ballarat mum Samantha Murphy has learnt when he will finally face justice. Patrick Stephenson fronted the Supreme Court of Victoria on Wednesday for the first time in what is the initial step in his long road to trial. I don't know if I could have found a link for it. I'll try harder next time. I've got to be honest. I didn't even look really to see if I could watch this because, firstly, because I didn't think I'd be able to in the Supreme Court, but I'm not sure. Maybe I could have done, but anyway, I didn't. But appearing via video link, the court heard dates for his murder trial had been secured in September. So September, it's not that far off. You know how quickly time can go. But gosh, I hope nothing happens to sort of put it off. It says here, while Daily Mail Australia is unable to provide most of the explosive details. Now, whether they were explosive or not, I'm not sure. But due to legal reasons, it can be revealed that prosecutors plan to cross-examine 8 witnesses before the trial to determine whether they need to be called for the main event. And another witness, who has only recently been identified, is also expected to be examined after police obtain a statement from him. So that's interesting, isn't it? A witness who has only recently been identified. Stephenson, an apprentice electrician, remains in the Melbourne assessment prison while awaiting trial. So a lot of people are under the impression or feel that Patrick had help. If he is guilty, allegedly. But the police had said, no, he didn't. But, the thing is, the police are allowed to tell porcupines when they're in an investigation. If there is somebody that they're suspecting might have helped him, they perhaps don't want to say that because they want to lull that person into a false sense of security. So, in a way, even what the police tell us, until the trial happens, everything we have to take a little bit with a pinch of salt, because only what officially comes out now from the court really we can take seriously. And there won't be much, because it's a trial at stake. So, yeah, it's very frustrating. And of course, what happens then, that's why all these loons come out on Facebook, etc., because there's a void of information. And whenever there's a void of information, people seem to think it's acceptable to try and fill it with, rumours and speculation, which, I just can't I can't go along with. I know that these things are being said, and you know what, they might turn out to be true. I don't know. What I'm saying is you can't take anything you read on Facebook seriously. So the court heard he will appear in the court appear in the court. Is this not a video link then? Or maybe it's a video link again. He's not appeared in court at all, I think, apart from right at the beginning. On March the 6th for a case conference between his lawyers and those acting for the prosecution. And case conferences are held to determine if the case can be resolved. So is that like his last chance to plead guilty or to admit to, I don't know, something? I still feel that as time goes on and once the prosecution see the defence see what evidence prosecution have, what witnesses they have, etc. Is it likely that they will then turn around to Patrick and say, look, you're going to get found guilty, you should plead guilty, and if you say where Samantha's remains are, maybe you'll get a shorter sentence. I still hope that eventually he will say where she is. I think that's really important. I was watching something the other day and somebody was saying, a crime show, bringing home the victims' remains is just as oh, actually, I think it was Donald Trump. No, I tell a lie, it was Donald Trump, who occasionally does say things that are right. I thought it was a good thing that he said. He was talking about the hostages coming back from Gaza. It's just as important to the victims' family that remains are brought back, just as important as if they were alive, they were brought back. To a victim's family, having their loved one back one way or another, obviously the preferable way is to have your loved one back alive and well. But if that's not possible, it's just as important to get the remains back, so that, every culture has a respect for human remains, for their loved ones. They bury them, or if they set them on fire, or whatever. Even tribes, the Vikings, even everybody has a ritual, a rite of passage. And when that's denied to people, to loved ones, because of course comfort is for the loved ones, it probably doesn't make any difference to the victim themselves. I mean, they've departed this earth. But as far as the loved one's concerned, it makes a big difference. And it is just as important to get the body back as it is to get a live and well loved one back. And we should never stop. That's why it should. And I don't think it does. I think in our society, it's generally accepted, isn't it? Searches go on for years and years and years. There's currently a search going on in America for the Beaumont children. That's been over 50 years, I think. So law enforcement are aware of that, that it's important to find remains and lay people to rest, even if sadly, they're no longer with us. You just make sure you're all okay. Hi, my angel. So, yeah, musical. I hope there is some live coverage. I hope so, because we're all invested in this case now. But anyway, the most important thing, obviously, is that family get their closure. So in November, Stephenson pled not guilty to the murder of Miss Murphy, whose disappearance on February the 4th triggered a long and fruitless search around Ballarat in Western Victoria. I mean, they did find the phone, though, so it wasn't completely fruitless. In an unrelated matter, Stephenson last month also pled guilty to drink, drug and careless driving, for which he was convicted and fined £2,500. So he did plead guilty to that. Now, that was very frustrating, wasn't it? Because nothing was done at the time. It's quite a serious accident that he had. He apparently was hospitalised. Maybe that's why nothing was done, because he went to hospital. I just feel like he got, it was never classed as a priority, because he's like the all-Australian guy and his dad's a football player, or was a football player, etc. But maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, why was it? Because if something would have been done, then it could be that Samantha could still be alive. But anyway, that's, we'll never know that. The court heard that Stephenson was found lying on the road in the early hours of October the 1st, after crashing 2023, after crashing his motorbike following an AFL grand final party with mates. The crash left Stephenson, the son of former Richmond and Geelong AFL player Oren Stephenson, with serious injuries that required 2 weeks of hospital treatment. You'd think he would have learnt something from that. I mean, we saw video of him out partying. He hasn't learned anything from that. He's sniffing cocaine. He's obviously totally inebriated and high. And was he then, how did he get home that particular night? Did he drive home? Is it that, I presume there's no public transport? Don't expect you get your last bus into the bush. I don't know. But yeah, it didn't teach him a lesson, did it? He had 2 weeks of hospital treatment with a fractured vertebrae, lacerated spleen, broken pelvis and ribs, and minor head trauma. Believe me, that's going to come up when it comes to the trial, the head trauma. Once he decides to, if he decides to plead guilty in the end, I bet the head trauma's brought up. Never been the same since that head injury, blah, de, blah, de, blah. And police allege he would go on to murder Miss Murphy just 3 months later, despite his injuries. So this is what the police allege. We'll find out in September if it's true or not. So Stephenson's lawyer, Moya O'Brien, told the court her then client still suffered from these injuries. I knew it was going to come in, which had seen him return to hospital while behind bars. If he ever eventually, admits to what he's done or whatever, it'll all be because of these injuries. The court heard that Stephenson had lost control on a bend, going into a slide that left him injured on the road. Now, a lot of people as well then have said maybe, this was Mick leaving court after a previous court appearance by Patrick. That's led a lot of people to think, did he, run Samantha over by accident and then try and cover it up? But the police definitely said at the time it was a targeted attack. They were at pains to say that. A targeted attack, which suggests it wasn't an accident, but of course we don't know any more than that, do we? So we just have to wait till September to find out the full details. There's Samantha and Mick. So, yeah, very difficult for Mick and the children. So at the time of that accident, Stephenson had been just months away from completing his apprenticeship, and following the accident he was welcomed back to his employment, and at the time of his remand into custody he was working as an electrician. Prosecutors had agreed Stephenson ought to be penalised with a fine despite his offending while on a good behaviour bond. So he was on a good behaviour bond when allegedly he killed Samantha. In handing down his sentence, Magistrate Guillaume Bailin said he would have imposed a jail sentence on Stephenson had he not pleaded guilty. It's perhaps luck alone that no one else was injured or you were killed. Yeah, well, if he turns out to be guilty of Samantha's murder, nobody would be thinking that it was lucky. In November, Miss Murphy's husband, Mick, attended the court to observe his wife's alleged killer for the first time, and seated at the front of Ballarat Magistrates Court, he glared at the video screen in court where Stephenson appeared. Police remain tight-lipped over how the investigation is progressing, advising only that the search for Miss Murphy's body is continuing. Large search crews have repeatedly ventured into the wilderness around Ballarat, which contains many abandoned mine shafts throughout the year, without any success. So yeah, they have continued looking. I presume they're still searching. I think there's nothing the police would want more than to find hi Maria. I think there's nothing the police would want more than to find Samantha's remains, which might just tie up the case. But I still think that if, and I don't know because I don't know the details, but if as it comes closer to the trial, it's looking like if the defence decides there's enough evidence against Patrick, it comes to a point, doesn't it, with the defence where if it looks like the person's definitely going to be found guilty, they have to start looking at just getting they have to go from actually getting them to plead not guilty to getting to seeing their duty becomes changes from getting them found not guilty if overriding evidence turns up, then their priority changes to getting them the least sentence whatsoever that they possibly can. That's the defence's job, isn't it? That's our society. Everyone has a right to a defense. Everyone is innocent till found guilty, even if it is blatantly obvious. I'm not saying that with Patrick, but other cases. So that at some point, if you know, if it's true that the police have so much evidence and it looks like inescapable, and witnesses, and it's inescapable for Patrick, then the defence will start looking at, right, you're going to get, you know, you're going to get found guilty. We've got to just work on getting you the least sentence possible, because he's still a young man, of course. You know, for someone like Patrick, if he received a 20-year sentence, he's still only be in his early 40s when he came out, wouldn't he? Presuming he would come out at the time of parole, when parole comes up. So, you know, that's another thing the defence will have to work out in their head. And that, to me, would be the time when Patrick might say where Samantha's remains are, when he's trying to go for the shortest sentence possible. But I think he's never going to tell where Samantha's remains are, as long as there's a chance that he might get found not guilty. So... So, you know, we're going to, we just have to wait and see. We just have to wait and see, you know, what happens. And, yeah. Yeah. Well, Sheep Farm, I hope it comes to something. As soon as the police reveal something, then we have to take it seriously then, don't we? Yeah, now the Beaumont children, just changing the subject for a while. So this is something I will be doing a video about this. I've been waiting, hoping that they might get some information. So the Beaumont children was a case, again, from Australia, but many, many years ago. I mean, nearly everybody who was involved in this case is deceased, because I think it's probably 60 years ago, is it, Maria? But the police are still looking, or I think it's something to do with the current governor of the state or whatever. But anyway, these 3 children disappeared and were thought to have been murdered. And there was a prime suspect, but he's since deceased. But for some reason, I think the reason that they're searching again for the Beaumont children is the place where they think they may be buried. They want to build houses on it. So I think it's like a last chance to search this area, isn't it? Because once the housing estate is built, they're not going to be able to dig that up again. So I think it's like a last chance to find out what happened to these 3 children. But I'm going to have a look at that in a video. But I've been sort of hanging on, because they were digging and then they thought they'd found something. Now they're saying, no, maybe it's not anything. So I've just been waiting to see if there were any results, you know, if they did find any of these poor children. And again, just to put them to rest, isn't it? Because although that I don't think their immediate family is around anymore, but there will be family still alive, and just it's just respect as well, isn't it? They should have a proper resting place. It's so, as I say, that they're buried somewhere, but nobody knows. They've never been found. Yeah, 3 children all on the one day disappeared. So who did it and why? That's quite... It's very unusual, isn't it? Obviously, children go missing all the time. But for 3 children to go missing like that, yeah, it's strange. But okay, I just wanted to let you know that bit of an update. So I think the police have got a lot of evidence. You know, for them to have 8 witnesses and now a new witness who's only recently come forward, I mean, you're just fascinated. Who are these witnesses and what have they seen? The police obviously would never have arrested Patrick unless they thought they had a strong case against him. So that's why they arrested him, because they think they've got a strong case against him, and we won't find out until September exactly what that entails. Now, we may never find out. I mean, I suppose it's not inconceivable that in the meantime, Patrick might change his plea, and then, I don't know, will we ever find out what happened? But yeah, it's just in the hands of the courts now. Nothing more that we can do about it. Okay, have a good morning or a good afternoon or a good evening. I will be back shortly because I want to look at the interview. Sebastian Rogers, it's come to a year since he went missing, and his mum was being interviewed, and we're going to look at that hopefully later. Or whenever I don't think the full video's come out yet, but anyway, we're going to look at that. So thanks for watching. Prayers for Samantha's family. Let's just hope that one day Samantha is returned to her family, and I'll see you really soon in the next video, and until then, may your God go with you. Bye.